Okay, now we're going to move on to a very powerful platform for finding potential investors. LinkedIn is primarily a business networking tool, so it's going to be very useful for finding high net worth individuals who are property investors, professional property investors. So the power of LinkedIn is really here. It's finding investors. You won't be using LinkedIn to find home sellers, just because it's not very easy to target them there. I'm sure some of them are on LinkedIn, but this is not the best channel to be using here. Instead, we're going to be using this exclusively for property investors. So why is LinkedIn so great? According to most recent figures, over 75% of people on LinkedIn, LinkedIn users, have incomes of over £50,000, and over 40% have incomes of over £100,000. They're just a extremely well-off and business-orientated network of people. So it's a great place to be finding your potential investors. They're very accessible as well, and there are lots of big groups, purpose-built groups, much like on Facebook, that we can access and use to really leverage and get a lot of investors in a short time. The other really cool thing about LinkedIn is that you have direct contact with individuals rather than with faceless corporations and companies. It's very much person to person, and this is a natural extension of in-person networking, the offline networking that I've been suggesting you pursue. LinkedIn is basically a very advanced extension of what you should already be doing. So on the downsides, because LinkedIn has such a wealthy and rich user base, it's very, very expensive to advertise on LinkedIn. Paid advertising is prohibitively expensive. It's fine if you're selling a mega yacht or maybe a software as a service integration, which might cost hundreds of thousands of pounds. Then you can afford to pay for advertising on LinkedIn. But if you have a cost per acquisition of less than £100 or so, it's not really going to be plausible. It's something that you can experiment with later when you have a lot more revenue. But for now, I'm going to stick to free and low-cost methods that allow us to go around the necessity of using LinkedIn adverts. I'm actually going to show you a much better way to do this. So one downside that you probably won't be able to avoid is the very expensive premium accounts on LinkedIn. That said, the way we're going to be using the premium account will pay for itself very quickly, and I'll be showing you how this works later on in this video. I'll be showing you a method that is it's not endorsed by LinkedIn, so it's a bit tricksy, and they don't endorse it because it allows you to circumvent LinkedIn advertising, and then they don't get any advertising revenue, but it works. So I'm going to show it to you and let you decide whether it's something you want to explore. If not, I'm also going to be showing you the power of LinkedIn groups, which are free, and that's part of the normal LinkedIn experience. So it's up to you which of the two methods I'll be showing you use. So on the premium accounts, it's very expensive to get premium now because primarily of recruiters. Recruiters make a lot of money on LinkedIn, and they're the main people who are purchasing premium accounts. It's not business people, it's people who are trying to recruit and people in HR. And because of this, LinkedIn knows what their business model is, and it knows how much LinkedIn is worth to them, and it started to charge them a lot for LinkedIn premium accounts. So the free way of getting in front of people on LinkedIn is just the same as on Facebook. It's using groups, and it's the most powerful feature hands down on LinkedIn. You should be investigating these if you're at all serious about getting in front of professional property investors. So again, just like Facebook, you're going to search for local groups using search terms like Property Group London or Real Estate New York, depending on your area and what type of language is used in that particular area. You're going to find and join as many of these groups as possible. There is actually a limit on how many group invitations you can send out at a time, but it's quite a lot. I think it's 20, but it changes sometimes. So if you do hit this invitation limit, you can you'll have to retract your pending invitations. That's just something to be aware of. But join as many property groups, large property groups, in your specific area as possible. And then just like in Facebook, you're going to participate and you're going to add value within the group and you're going to become a part of the community. Unlike on Facebook, the LinkedIn property groups tend to be very big. There might be hundreds of thousands of people. So if you can participate and add value in front of 100 or 200,000 professional property investors in the UK, this puts you in a fantastic position to then start sending personal messages and start networking with them directly. It will be a slow start, especially if you haven't used LinkedIn for a long time, but it will start to accelerate as your second connections grow. So if, let's think of an example here. If I'm trying to get to person C and I have no direct connection, but I do know person B who also knows person C, then I can, through person B, send person C a direct invitation to connect on LinkedIn. So if you have this second connection, i.e. a common friend on LinkedIn, then you can send invitations to connect on LinkedIn. And this is a very quick way of expanding your network. Also, if I receive an invitation from somebody who I see has a common friend with me, I am more likely to accept that invitation and to reciprocate and to talk. So as you start to gain more and more connections, you'll have more second connections and therefore you'll be able to grow much faster. I'd recommend you install the LinkedIn telephone app, primarily for ease of use and accessibility. It allows you to keep on track of messages and just it's less fussy than having to log onto a computer each time. So groups are fine, but you're not really here for me to tell you just to use LinkedIn groups. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes work. It will work in the long run, but you want something a bit more interesting from me. So I'm going to show you this method. I'm going to tell you though, with the proviso, that this is not endorsed by LinkedIn because it is too powerful and they don't really like people doing it. But I'm going to go through it and leave it to you to decide whether it's something you want to explore. So this method isn't based on the who has visited your profile page and notifications. So whenever I visit somebody on LinkedIn, they are going to get a notification that they have been visited. And depending on their account level, they're going to be able to see who I am and follow me back to my profile. Also, some people will go directly to the who has visited your profile page and they'll be able to see the last, I think it's 5 people who have visited them on the free account, or I think it might be 50 on a premium account. These numbers change, but they'll be able to see you popping up there as somebody who has visited their profile. Now, why is this important? Apart from advertising on LinkedIn, which costs, well, the minimum cost is £1 per click, which is incredibly expensive, and the average cost is about £7, again, depending on what you're advertising. But apart from advertising, this is the single best way to appear in front of LinkedIn users, regardless of their group participation, regardless of whether you know them. Basically, this is the best way to appear in front of strangers on LinkedIn, and it's by appearing in front of strangers that you can grow your network a lot quicker. So I'm going to run through the process and also provide a cheat sheet. There are also a few tools that can do this for you that I'll be providing later on. And once you've got those tools, you can read the tutorials and learn how to do this yourself. But I'm going to run through the whole process quickly now. So the first thing you're going to do is you need to optimize your headline. Now, this is something people don't normally do on LinkedIn. For most people, their headline will be something like CEO of XYZ Corporation. It tells me very little unless I happen to know what your company is. Or I'm a general manager of Acme Corp. It tells me nothing at all about who you are and what you do. And most importantly, it doesn't tell me what you can do for me. So I'm on LinkedIn looking for people who can help me with my business. And this is the same with most people on LinkedIn. They're there to network, and a lot of people are thinking about themselves first, about what it is that this other person can do for them. This is just human nature, unfortunately. So what we can actually do is change our headline so that it's something that catches the attention of people on LinkedIn. So instead of saying CEO of XYZ Corporation, we would change it to a tagline. We'd change it to a sales message. And not a lot of people think to do this, so by doing so, you're going to be standing out immediately. So look at this. We have Joe McLeish Capital Property Limited. That's fine. I don't know who Joe McLeish is. I don't really know what Capital Property Limited is. So why would I click on your profile? Why would I be interested in what you do? I don't know how you can help me. What if we had Joe McLeish, Southwest London Property Sourcer, connect to receive BMV, that's below market value, leads for your next investment. This is a lot more compelling. If I'm a professional investor in Southwest London, and these are the kind of people we'd be targeting with this headline, then I'm more likely to click on your profile and find out who you are, what you do, and to connect with you. This could be for the same company. Capital Property might be a Southwest London property sourcer, but we're not being told that in the LinkedIn headline. So by simply rewriting it to Southwest London property sourcer, connect to receive BMV leads in your next investment, we've made ourselves suddenly a lot more marketable. We're telling people what we do and what the call to action is, connect, and what we can provide to them, receiving below market value leads for their next investment. To a professional property investor in Southwest London, this is very compelling. So even if you just change your headline to something that actually tells people what you can do for them, you're already ahead of 99% of LinkedIn. So even if you don't follow the rest of this method, I'd recommend you do that. The next thing you want to do is optimize your profile. You're going to need to add your website. You want to send people back to your website ultimately, so you're going to need that somewhere in your summary. I'd also add it as a job position, and again adding a link so people can follow it back to your website. You're going to need a good photo of yourself. Again, this is going to be a professional headshot, nothing silly, and it should be you. It shouldn't be an amateur photo. You can get a professional headshot done for very little money, or just get somebody with a decent camera to get you against a white wall, and that will be better than most people on LinkedIn. And then you're going to change the about me. So instead of talking about yourself, you should be talking about your business, the sort of location, the area you focus on, the type of deals you specialize in, and basically all the information that you would want to give to a potential investor in order to get them to your website and in order to get them to sign up to your newsletter. Again, you're using the about me not to talk about yourself, but to talk about what you can do for the person looking at your profile. In effect, you are turning your profile into a sales page. It's not about you, it's about them. And this is a very different way to think about a LinkedIn profile. You can even use the projects or your past positions to add in property deals that you have helped source. This is something you'll be doing later as you work on more and more projects with people, but this is a way to flesh out your profile. Now from there, we're going to get a bit clever. We're going to locate potential leads. Now these are people we want on our investor list. These are people who are professional property investors in the area where we are focused on. So we're going to use LinkedIn's advanced search to filter out a subset of people based on these criteria. So it will be things like in our geographic area, so London, for example. In certain groups, we can actually target people within the London property group or within the Birmingham property group. This is very powerful. We can also target by certain interests or certain keywords like property investor, professional investor, real estate developer, etc., etc. We would use the search box to search for these people. And then we can use job titles. This tends to be less useful in property, but we can look for things like property investor. Normally people won't have it as their official job title, but it's worth checking. Generally the search box is much more useful for finding people here. You can do a basic search for some of these criteria on the free account, but for The most powerful searches like groups, you're going to have to use the premium account. And this is why you would want to upgrade to a premium account. I think the cheapest is £40 a month. So it's not cheap, but again, if you manage to find even 1 or 2 leads a month, you were going to have a very high return on investment. So once you've narrowed down a list of leads, you're going to be using this reciprocity trick. The idea is to appear on as many profiles as possible. So they're going to see Joe McLeish, Southwest London Property Sourcer, connect to receive BMV leads for your next investment, visited your profile, appearing in their notifications. So we need to visit as many of these people in our lead list as possible, as many of these Southwest London property investors in particular groups as possible. A percentage of these people, once they see this notification, they're going to click back to come and look at our profile. On our profile, they're going to see our headline, they're going to see our about us, they might see our additional projects, they might see our website. They're going to suddenly know about us. We're suddenly known to them. A percentage of these people on your profile will be interested in what you do. Some people aren't going to care. They don't use property sources. Maybe they have a property sourcer. Maybe they're not even interested in property and they've just come to your page by accident. That's fine. It doesn't matter. A percentage of these people will be interested in what you do and your services and how you can help them. A percentage of these people are then going to act on this. They're either going to come to your website directly and fill out the form, or potentially request to connect on LinkedIn and send you a message. Either one works, although ultimately you want to get them onto your website and filling out the form in Want to Buy Properties. We want them to fill out the professional investor form as the ultimate conversion event here. And a percentage of these people who come to your website are going to fill out the form and do just this. So we're starting at the top of the funnel. We're visiting as many people as possible. We might visit, let's say, 1,000 people in one day. The London Property Group, I think, is 200,000 people, so we could do this for quite a long time, visiting 1,000 people a day. We could do this for 200 days, going through the list day by day by day, visiting 1,000 each day. Of this 1,000 people that we're visiting each day, let's say 200 of them, 20%, they come back to your profile. That would be quite a good conversion. So let's say 1,000, 10% come to your profile. Of these 1,000 come to visit you, let's say 500 of them are interested in what you do. The other 500 don't work with property sources, or maybe they don't work in your area, or whatever it is. So of these 500, a percentage, let's say 100 of them are going to come to your website, and of these 100 that come to your website, maybe 10 of them are going to sign up to your list. These numbers are going to vary depending on your targeting, depending on how appealing your profile is, how appealing your headline is, but you can see the power of this methodology. Because we can visit so many people each day, it doesn't really matter what these percentages are. You're still going to be generating potential property investor leads. It's a very powerful process. So from here, it's really a numbers game. Let's say that our Joe McLeish visits 1,000 people per day in the London Property Group. I think the London Property Group has 200,000 people. It's a very large group, so he could be doing this for 200 days, maybe less than that, but he can do this for a large part of the year, getting in front of professional property investors. Let's say that each day is visiting 1,000 people and 300 people see the notification. Of those 300, 100 click and go to his profile. Of those 100, maybe 20 click to connect and send a message to him, say, hey, what's up? We should chat. Maybe 10 of them go to the website. Maybe of the 10 people who go to the website, one of them signs up and joins the newsletter. Maybe it's going to be more, maybe it's going to be less. It doesn't really matter. The idea really here is to get in front of as many people as possible for a very low cost as we can per day, get them into this funnel and get them to the website eventually. So how many we can visit is going to depend entirely on what level of LinkedIn you have. With a free account, I think you can only get away with about 100 visits per day. So if you're doing that, you would be lucky to get one sign up per day. You might get one sign up per week, maybe less. Again, it depends how attractive your headline is, how attractive your about page is on LinkedIn. So with Premium it goes up to 500, and with Sales Navigator, which is the highest level, it's 1,000 plus or even unlimited. But you need to be a bit careful because LinkedIn does have these limitations. So you might be thinking, how on earth am I going to visit 500 or 1,000 people every single day? Well, thankfully there are tools. You can do it manually, or you could even pay somebody to do it for you. But you can also use an automatic tool, and there's a few of them. There's Ducks Soup, there's GPZ LinkedIn Tools, and there's a new one called Social Lead Machine. Duck Soup has probably been around the longest. It's a basic Chrome extension. It plugs into your browser. You navigate to the search that you've done, which includes the groups you want to target and the geographic locations, the job titles, etc., etc. And you basically press go, and Duck Soup will visit each of those profiles one at a time, and that will allow you to start receiving reciprocal visits back. I think Duck Soup is about £20 per month, which is affordable. GPZ LinkedIn Tools is a more advanced piece of software. You don't pay for it monthly. I think you buy a one-off license and then you can use it forever. It's updated quite regularly, and it does the trick. Again, it's in your browser, it's in Chrome. It's a little more sophisticated than Duck Soup, but really they do the same thing. And Social Lead Machine I have not used, but it's a new one, and again it sits in your browser and it will just sit there chugging through the visits one at a time in the background while you're using your computer, visiting 500 or 1,000 people per day. So you get those reciprocal visits and people viewing your profile and people coming to your website. So I have to say here, you have to be careful. Using automatic tools like this to visit profiles is actually against LinkedIn's terms of services. Potentially they can ban accounts, but that said, I've run this on my accounts for several years, and I've run this on client accounts as well, and we've never had any problem. To be 100% safe, you could use a secondary account, so you'd set up a new account and run the tools on this account, and you'd still be generating leads, and in the worst case scenario that you did have an account ban, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But I do need to warn you, it is against LinkedIn's terms of services, so use this at your own risk. It is a very powerful tool. I personally use it and I personally recommend it, but you do need to be aware of the risks of doing so. So what happens once people start to contact you? And some people are going to go straight to your website, and that's fantastic. You've already got them, you've already sold them, they're on your list, they're going to start receiving your deals, and hopefully one day they will purchase a deal through you. Fantastic, you've done your job already. What about the people who connect with you and send you a message? You'll see this a lot on LinkedIn because people can't be bothered to go to another website. So a lot of time you'll get a connection request and you need to accept that connection request, and they'll send you a message saying, hi, I like the look of what you're doing, maybe we can work together. You'll get this kind of message from people, or just people trying to build their property network within the area, and that's fine. What do you do at this point though? Now, you don't need to hard sell. There's absolutely no need, because you've been following targeted visits. You know these people are property investors, and you've been using a targeted message telling people exactly what you do, so they already know all this about you. Also, they messaged you. The selling process is underway. You don't need to hard sell them at this point. So if they connect, you simply accept the connection, and I suggest immediately sending a short message, just basically asking how they're doing, how's business, and if there's anything you can help with. You don't need to send them a full pitch. You don't need to start sending them deals through LinkedIn. Just softly on this is fine. I would say when you sign off your first message to them, make sure to leave your website address at the bottom of the message, like a signature, and then if they are interested in signing up to the list, they can follow back to that website and sign up. But again, it's not really about hard selling here, because they're already sold. Your targeting and your messaging is already enough for them to connect you and want to find out more about you. So just softly here. It's also not all about the sell. Yes, you're going to be getting people on your list, fantastic. You're going to be generating leads, but at the same time, you're going to be building your network. Again, this allows you to have more second connections, and that will help you in turn build your network faster. And it's also pushing you up the LinkedIn rankings. You can't really see this, but when people are searching for something like a property sourcer online, because you have all these people visiting you, and because your account is affiliated with property sourcing, you're going to start showing up a lot more, not a lot more frequently on LinkedIn. You're going to be suggested as a person people should connect with because you're building this expertise in a particular area and you're very active on LinkedIn because of this method. So there's a lot of things going on at the same time. It might start very slowly, but it does speed up, and there's a lot of forces that are working together to make this a very powerful method. So does this work? Yes, basically. If you look at the top one, this was my account back in May, and you can see in the last 90 days I had 3,000 profile views. At this time, this was not property related, this was digital marketing related, but it meant basically for very low cost I was having 3,000 extremely targeted prospects visit my profile and get in touch with me about services. And so I must have spent £40 per month on the LinkedIn account. This is over 3 months, so it's £120. And I pay for LinkedIn GPZ, which I think is £70 one off. So maybe I was paying £150 for this, but I had 3,000 extremely targeted views. This was mainly from corporate executives, so CEOs, CXO, CCO for a particular product that I was selling, and I made a lot more back. So the return on investment was huge on this. What about for new accounts? If you look at the bottom, this is an account that I set up for a client. So I actually do this for people for £300 a month. That's now gone up actually, but it used to be £300 a month. And you can see this is a new client. They go from basically zero, jumping up to 575 profile views in 1 week. So they go from zero to being a LinkedIn superstar very quickly. And I think by the end of the 3 months, they were also getting thousands and thousands of people coming and looking at what they were selling, and they did very well out of this as well. So yes, this works. It works very well, and this is why LinkedIn does not like it. But if it's something you want to add or to test out, I recommend you try it using some of the tools that I suggested previously, and I'll leave some links for them below the video. Because it's one of the best ways of getting in front of professional investors, building your network and getting them to your website. Hands down the best single method you can use.